Alors, bonsoir tout le monde. Bienvenue à cette réunion du Conseil municipal en ce 24 novembre.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this regular public meeting of Dieppe City Council. I hope you will say with me that the city of Dieppe recognizes that the land on which it operates is part of the unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq. Dear colleagues, let us have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So once again, welcome to all of you, even those of you arriving late.
Alors, on appelle la réunion à l'ordre.
So I call the meeting to order. We have quorum. Thank you. And now I think our CAO has something else to add. Under item 8, okay, we'll move this to point 8. Declarations of conflict of interest. On what item? You have to turn on the mic. Pardon me. Thank you, Worship. I confirm that I completed the form, including 5 points on the agenda tonight. That is point 11.6.1, urban growth strategy, point 11.6.3, adoption policy said 7, nonprofit housing incentive program, 1.6.4, PAC recommendation text amendments, municipal development plan 7-9 2017, zoning bylaws 10 2021, accessory buildings R1 and R2 zones, and 12.1 bylaws Z 9 2017-13 to amend the municipal development plan, accessory dwelling R1 and R2 zones, and 12.5 Z 10 25 21-15 to amend the zoning bylaw, accessory dwelling R1 and R2. I have asked questions and made comments in previous meetings. These issues are now before the council. I find myself in a conflict of interest situation, so I withdraw during the discussion of those items. Thank you. Anyone else would be in conflict of interest with the files that we have before us this evening? If none, let us move on with the adoption of the agenda. It has been moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Genet on the question. There being none, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Against nay. We are now duly constituted. The next item is by a CAO, Mr. Melanson. Yes, good evening, Your Worship. Good evening, members and colleagues. So as I mentioned during the public presentation of budgets in October, our proposals for 2026 are fully aligned with the priorities of Council, with our strategic plan, and with our master plans. Together with Council, we have made the decision to maintain our current tax rate in order to reflect our commitment to meeting our municipal obligations, managing our finances responsibly, and continuing to provide quality essential services to our residents. Having said this, our catch-up program for former LSDs is also maintained further to municipal reform. The water and sewer bills remain unchanged at the same level it has been since 2020. In 2026, we will be responding to the priorities of our residents and elected officials. Public transit will be strengthened and our parks and green spaces plan will be implemented. The Francophonie remains a priority and Dieppe will continue to lead in promoting and protecting the French language. We will move forward with upgrades to our buildings to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, improvements to the aquatic center, and investments in our road and underground infrastructure. And we will begin preparations for the major celebrations of Dieppe's 75th anniversary in 2027. Among the major road projects in 2026, we will see improvement to the Champlain and Kadi intersection, replacement of water mains on Amido Street to the southern limits of the municipality on Dove Street and did two other arteries, the realignment of Thomas Street, and we will follow the extension of Dieppe Boulevard. We will also see the reconstruction, among others, the reconstruction of Sainte-Thérèse Street and phase 2 of the rehabilitation of Leblanc Road within the former limits of Dieppe. I would also like to take this opportunity to update on police services. Last February, Dieppe Council, along with Moncton and Riverview, adopted a motion requiring that before any future substantial budget requests from the Kodiak Regional Police Authority for additional personnel, the authority must first provide Council with the complete data analysis of the impact of the 17 new officers approved for 2025. Since that analysis has not yet been received, our 2026 budget allocation for the RCMP is set at $11.6 million with no new officers included. In conclusion, I want to acknowledge the provincial government's initiative to modernize the tax system. This is an important step forward. We remain committed to working with the province to establish a modern fiscal framework that will allow all municipalities to meet their new responsibilities. Thank you to the whole municipal team for all the work done during the budgetary process. And with this, I will give the floor to our treasurer, who will give you the outline for proposed budget 2026. Thank you. Let us begin.
Merci bien, Monsieur Mélenchon.
Merci. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Mr. Mélenchon, thank you, Your Worship, members of council, colleagues, and work and public. So we are here now at the end of the budgetary process for 2026. I'm going to give you a summary of what we presented last month, which took many hours. And this evening, this is a summary, so there won't be many details. However, I will also be doing an update of what you're going to be authorizing and approving tonight. There are 4 resolutions in front of you, 4 resolutions coming up. And so I'm going to go one after another in showing them to you. So first of all, we're talking about the taxation rate for the city of Dieppe, as well as the 2 portions of LSDs that were annexed in previous years. You will authorize the residential rate, which is 13.65 for $100 of assessment, the same cost as last year. It has not changed. Greater Lakeburn and Skuduk last year were 5 cents more according to the provincial plan, so 6,945 for Greater Lakeburn and 6,177 for Skuduk. You also have authorized by this resolution the multiplicator factor. What is the rate for non-residential for companies? In our case, we take the 1.365, multiply it by 1.65, which is the multiplication effect that you'll find in the resolution to come up with the non-residential rates, as you see, 2.2523 in Dieppe, 1.1459 in Greater Lakeburn, and 1.0192 in Skuduk. You will also authorize the total budget. The total budget with our budget is $89.6 million, so an increase of 4.3 compared to last year. Another item that you have authorized is property assessments. That is the amount. What is the amount or the funding that the province is going to come to get from our residents or non-residents of Dieppe, which is $81.1 million. And to conclude about the operating budget, this is a summary of the main expenditures. So $89.6 million is divided into 7 portions. So $27.5 million for salary, external commissions, of which the RCMP, Expansion Dieppe, Kodiak Transpo, $17.2 million, water costs, the transfer, between the general operating budget and the budget for water and sewage with 2 million. Operational capital and asset management, 15.7 million. Debt service have reduced down to $5.4 million, and the transfers to reserves of $1.5 million, as well as other operational expenditures of $20.3 million. So you have a total of $89.6 million. There's your first resolution that you're going to be dealing with this evening. Now, the second one is about the same information, but this is for the water sewer operating budget. You are authorizing the unit costs. As the CEO has just said, there have been no changes since the last 6 years. So the same rate is maintained at $9.48. So $500 for water, $448 for sewage. With regard to residents, or rather I should say consumers who have water meters, the usage is 2.0833 per cubic meter, 1.8667 for cubic meter of sewage, which is a total of 3.9500. And you will authorize the total budget. In this case, we're looking at $16.54 million. And a quick summary here, as I did for the other a moment ago, the revenue, salaries are $4.33 million, water purchases from our neighboring city, $2.22 million, water treatment, $2.95 million, operating capital, $2.09 million, debt service, $1.94 million, operations, water and sewer, $1.64 and $0.69 million, as well as transfer to reserves of $0.68 million. So $68,000 of the transfers to reserve. So this is the second resolution that you will be approving or looking at this evening. I say approve, but you have the, it's not I who decide, but it's your decision. In third, we have the capital budget. As His Worship likes to say, it's going to take someone with a good voice this evening, because you are going to name all the operating or the capital budget projects, 3 pages worth. So you have the capital budget, general capital budget, $13.9 million for water and sewage. So what you see in front of you are the sources of financing for these projects. Our main sources of financing are capital cash that we pay for these projects. All the government subsidies. Here you have the alphabet soup of all the agencies that provide us with $12.1 million and $7 million for water and sewage, reserves for capital, reserves for operating, and which gives us a total of $38.6 million, $13.9 million for water and sewage, 52.5 as a total. And then, in last place, your fourth resolution, what are we looking for here are the projects that are going to be named. We have identified $8.7 million for loans for these projects. We're looking at leveling and paving Champlain, $500,000. The path along Champlain Street, Industrial to Midland, $1.372 million. The path from Champlain, Lorette to the east part of the city, $3.335 million. Industrial Park Phase 3A, $2.250 million, which gives us $7.457 million. And for water and sewage, we have focused on one project, the reconstruction of Saint-Thérèse Street, Acadie to Notre Dame, for the cost of $1.284 million. So these are the 4 resolutions that you will be dealing with this evening. And in last place, these are the 5-year plans. So what are we forecasting for the 5 coming years with regard to our general fund and for water and sewage? It changes from one year to the next. What you are seeing today was not what has been presented in the past. There was a freeze of our funding, so this changed the water on the beans, as we say. And so this year, we received 4.9% of increase. The capital budget is 38.6 million, loan 7.5, and the debt ratio is 6%. For future years, what we're forecasting is a tax base which is down to 4.5%. So if we follow the same recipe that we're following today, we think that the tax base will go down a little bit. But we know that 2027 is going to be different from what we are forecasting. It's coming. Governments in 2026 are probably going to say what reform is going to be. We don't know, so I really can't tell you anything about it. Only that this scenario is the minimum of the percentage that we need in order to maintain the tax rate in Dieppe that I'm presenting tonight. You can see that the ratio of debt increases year to year because there are many projects that will be looked on for the coming years. Lastly, the same thing for water and sewage. You can see that the unit rate moves from 948, is going up year after year. We were lucky over the past few years because there were, well, that is, the population increased in Dieppe. We didn't need to increase costs because costs were absorbed by the increase in units that were sold because more people became attached to our water system and sewage system. So if this figure had been assessed at a 2 or 3% increase rate, and if it's 5% instead, then we may be able to keep the same unit rate in the future. Here, with a 2 or 3% increase, you can see that the rate is going to increase a little bit in the future. But in 2027, we'll see if we raise the rate or not. Well, the future will tell us. We see the ratio for debt is 11.8%. It increases, but it's fairly stable. So in 2030, it'll be 11.9%. So it's fairly stable. So, Your Worship, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Merci bien pour votre présentation.
Thank you for your presentation. And before we go any further, I would like to know if you have any questions by public before we go to the meeting. People in our vast public who are present will continue on with item 11, either by phone. So I would ask for a proposal to pass the minutes for the last meeting held November 10th, 2025, moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Vido on the question. There being none, all those in favor of the resolution will say aye, against nay. So the minutes are passed as circulated. This brings us to motions, memorandums, and nomination, which brings us to 11.1 under finance, 11.1.1, 2026 operating budget for general operating budget 2026. For the reading, Mr. Thibodeau, go ahead. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council resolved that the sum of $89,649,000 be the total operating budget of the local government of Dieppe, that the sum of $81,137,588 be the warrant of the local government for the ensuing year, that the non-residential ratio as well as the heavy industrial ratio be 1.65, and that the resident tax rate be 1.3650 for Dieppe, 1.6945 for Greater Lakeburn LSD, and 0.6177 for Skuduk LSD. That Council order and direct the levying by the Minister of Local Government of said amount on real property liable to taxation under the Assessment Act within the local government of Dieppe. I so move, Your Worship. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Lantagne. On the question, seeing no lights on, all those in favor of the resolution will say aye. Against, nay. So 11.1.1 is passed as presented. This brings us to 11.1.2.
11.1.2, the Water and Wastewater Disposal Operating Fund budget. Councillor Leboutier. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council accept, pursuant to subsection 117.4 of the Local Governments Act, that the total water and wastewater disposal operating budget of the local government of Dieppe for the coming year will include revenues of 16,542,000 and expenditures of 16,542,000. That pursuant to the bylaw respecting water and sewage systems, the user charge per unit for the year 2026 will be set as follows: $500 water utility and $448 wastewater disposal service. That the metered water rate for the year 2026 be set at $2.0833 per cubic meter. That the user charge for the wastewater disposal service for metered customers for the year 2026 be equal to a percentage of the amount of the water rate, this percentage being determined by dividing the current wastewater disposal service rate by the current water utility rate. This calculation provides us with a user charge for the wastewater disposal service of 1.8667 per cubic meter for the year 2026, and I so move. Thank you. And it's seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy on the question. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. 11.1.3, the Capital Projects Program for 2026. And here we have a full list of projects. Who wants to brave this reading? Councillor Brideau. I don't know if I'm brave, but I'll try. That Council authorize the following project under the 2026 Capital Projects Program. General capital budget, $38,600,000. A microsurfacing, one asphalt preservation program, microsurfacing various streets, Mill and Pave, Champlain Street, from Lorette Street to the Moncton Flight College. Reconstruction of Sainte-Thérèse Street from Acadie Avenue to Notre Dame Street. I like that one.
Programme de réasphaltage également.
And then the reconstruction, the repaving program of sections of Manon Street, Monteville, Allard, Dolbeau, Grande Vallée, Jolicoeur, Chiasson, and Rideau streets. And then improvements to Champlain Street, Acadie Avenue intersection, water main replacement, Amiro Street from Dover Street to the city limits. Reconstruction of Leblanc Road up to Civic number 838. Asset Replacement Program, Municipal Fleet, Plans and Specs 2027 projects, addition of infrastructure or new equipment, Thomas Street Realignment, Dieppe Boulevard Extension Program, Pélagie Street, the trail, Champlain Street from Lorette Street to the eastern city limits, and the trail on Champlain Street from Industrial Street to Midland Drive. Industrial Park, Phase 3A, subject to financing. land purchase, engineering projects on the Gauvin block and sewer main, traffic lights, Champlain Street, Aviation Avenues intersection, traffic equipment, signs, crosswalks, lights, traffic calming on various streets, and the addition of tactile tiles at intersections with traffic lights. And number 5, other capital projects, aquatic and sports center, dressing room and pool liner renovation, municipal parking lot reconstruction program, accessibility improvements, for example, bus shelters, land purchase, trails and conservation, trail connection from Champlain Street to Gauvin Road, plan for a new indoor multi-sport surface, the purchase of 2 trailers for articulated tractor, the renovation of the facilities at the Uniplex and the Arthur J. Leblanc Center, purchase and installation of park accessories, and Rotary Park project, the bike park. Water and wastewater disposal capital budget, $13,900,000. Mill and pave, Champlain Street from Lorette Street to Moncton Flight College, Dieppe Boulevard Extension, Water Tower, Dieppe Boulevard Extension, Dover Sewer Main, Dieppe Boulevard Extension, Sanitary Sewer, Pélagie Street, reconstruction Sainte-Thérèse Street from Acadie Avenue to Notre-Dame Street, water main replacement, Amiro Street from Dover Road to the city limits, Thomas Street realignment, Industrial Park Phase 3A, subject to financing, asset replacement program, municipal fleet, and improvements of Champlain Street Acadie Avenue intersection, plans and specs, 2027 projects. I think I'm done. Your Worship, I so move. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Brito and seconded by, yes, and seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy on the question. Councillor Godet. Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, for the replacement of water mains on Amiro Street, we're going to see this next year, but we're not going to be doing any mill and paving in that area. We're going to leave the expert, Mr. Cormier, respond to that question. Mr. Cormier. Yes, Your Worship. Now, for the replacement of the replacement of the water mains on Amiro, that includes the paving, but just the upper coat. The asphalt, the pavement will be replaced where we dig the trench, but we're only going to do the upper layer for the whole thing, and the replacement of the curbs and gutters, because they're pretty deteriorated in that area. Yeah, I was just wondering why we have to dig up the street and then redo it and then and I think it was scheduled to be redone in 2027 or 2028. It seems like it's a lot of work. There was a lot of work on Amiro in that area this year already, and I think it's going to continue on for the next few years, it would seem. I know it's a lot of money, but, well, it's not just the money, it's a question of time, Councillor, because when we start a section, for example, from the city limits to Dover, that's a large distance, so that we're going to do the whole thing. And when we go to the other section, we might be able to go around by Dieppe Boulevard, which will give a safer access, and then we'll be able to work full-time on the sector on Amiro Street in 2027. It'll be safer because there'll be a detour possible. But it's, yeah, okay, it's just that that's a road that's highly used. It's heavily used, and so I was just wondering. Yeah, well, the issue is to replace the water mains to make sure there are no breaks in the water main. So that's the part of the solution as well. Councillor Brito. Yeah, I'd like to know about Sainte-Thérèse Street. And I know this year We did a part of Notre Dame Street. Are we redoing the sewer and the water systems on that street? Everything, the whole road is going to be reconstructed? Yes, the whole thing is going to be reconstructed, and we're going to add a multifunctional trail like we did on the first section this year. Thank you. Any further questions from councillors? All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. Carried.
À l'item 11.4. 11.4.
11.4. Who would like to start with this section? Councillor Turgeon-Roy. That council authorize an application to borrow the sum of $8,741,000 be submitted to the Municipal Capital Borrowing Board in order to finance the following projects. General capital budget. A, transportation-related services, mill and pave, Champlain Street, from Lorette Street to the Moncton Flight College, $500,000. Trail, Champlain Street, from Lorette Street to the eastern city limits, to the eastern city limits, $1.372 million. Trail, Champlain Street from Industrial Street to Midland Drive, $3.335 million. Industrial Park Phase 3A, $2.250 million. Water and wastewater disposal capital budget. B, environmental hygiene services, reconstruction, Sainte-Thérèse Street from Acadie Avenue to Notre Dame Street, $1,284,000 at an interest rate to be determined by the board for a maximum period of 15 years for the general capital budget and for a maximum period of 20 years for the water and wastewater disposal capital budget. That council authorized the city of Dieppe to borrow on an interim basis an amount not to exceed $8,741,000 at the prime lending rate until long-term financing is arranged. And I so move it, Your Worship. It's been moved and seconded on the question. If there are none, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. Which brings us to 11.2.1, immigration. And who would like to read this resolution? Councillor Thibodeau. If you like, I can summarize this, Your Worship, if you like. Yes. If there are more yes than no's. Well, I think Mr. Thériault had presented it, but just for the benefit of the public, you have a request from CAFI here, and we're very happy that CAFI set their head office here in Dieppe 4 years ago. Originally, we had made a contribution because we needed it. They needed a community contribution to fund a part of the renovations, along with other funding from provincial and federal governments. And the operation is continually growing. They have 3 locations in Dieppe, and they have the opportunity to relocate all of these people under the same roof. So that'll help in the efficiency and the teamwork. They're asking for an additional contribution to allow them to work on this extension. They're asking for a contribution of $50,000. We had a 10-year agreement originally, so we're taking this opportunity to renew the agreement and add 4 years. So it'll be a new 10-year agreement that'll include this $50,000 contribution that will be spread out over a number of years. So the staff can see the benefits of the CAFI for the immigration that comes here, the immigrants who come here from the Francophonie, and they cooperate with the municipal services. So for us, it's a win-win situation, and we're happy to make the contribution. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Go ahead, Councillor Thibodeau. That Council authorize the municipal signing officers to sign the addendum for the extension of the partnership agreement with the Centre d'accueil et d'accompagnement francophone des immigrants du Sud-Est du Nouveau-Brunswick, CAFI, for an additional 4 years and accept to pay in advance a single contribution in the amount of $50,000, equivalent to $12,500 per year for the extended term from 2032 to 2035. And I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Jeannet on the question. There are none. Yes, I just have a question of information. We have a capital project for 1.3 million with this organization. Is this complete? Has this been finished? I'm sorry, I missed the end of your question. Is this a capital project and the construction? Because if you look at it, there's no contingency fee here. Is the project finished? And if there are any surpluses, if there are any cost overruns, who's going to pay for that? Those? Emily, do you have an answer? Our Director of Immigration. Thank you, Your Worship and councillors. Well, our only contribution is conditional on the other funding. Now they've already got funding from IRCC of $900,000, but they're only going to get another grant if there is a community support. So usually if there are additional costs, it would be with their main backer. Now we can validate that with the CAFI once we've signed the agreement. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm sure it's fine. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? While the director is at the mic? No? All right. Thank you. Thank you. So once again, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. 11.2.1 is carried as presented, which brings us to 11.3.1. 11.3 is fire, 11.3.1 municipal emergency measures plan. Yes, we have the renewal of our municipal emergency measures plan, which includes the regional collaboration of all of the municipalities in the Southeast and in Kent County. Chief Cormier worked with all of the other chiefs in the region to develop this review along with the province. And so we recommend that you adopted it, but if you have any specific questions, please ask. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Brideau, and seconded by? You will read it? Go ahead. That Council approved the Municipal Emergency Measures Plan dated March 2025, and I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Brideau. Yes, Councillor Brideau, and seconded by Councillor Turgeon-Roy on the question. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. Now, urban mobility. 11.4.1, public transit, purchase of 2 buses. Yes. So it's time to invest in our municipal fleet in cooperation with Kodiak Transpo, which is the public transportation agency for the city of Moncton. We've made a purchase with all 3 municipalities. We purchased together, so we get the best price possible. So it is recommended that we purchase these through Kodiak for the estimated cost of $2 million plus HST, so that we have our buses within the next 18 to 24 months. And that's the recommendation of staff. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Jeannet. that Council authorize the purchase of 2 buses for the public transit service through Kodiak Transpo at an estimated total cost of $2 million plus HST, and further authorize that this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3-3-20-12-7906, General Capital Budget, Purchase, New Equipment. And I so move it. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Jeannin, seconded by Councillor Rideau on the question. If there are none, all those in favor? Councillor Prideaux, sorry, go ahead. Thibodeau, Councillor Thibodeau, sorry.
Trois fois, là, je pèse dessus.
OK, non, c'est bon.
Il va falloir que je m'assise.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a question. I was wondering if the new federal budget have you given any money to start the electrification of our fleet? Oh, in the new budget that was adopted just a few weeks ago, we're still waiting for the details. We're impatiently waiting for the details. We're very eager to see what programs will be available for municipalities. But this is something that we're going to look at very closely. Now, in terms of the municipal fleet, the electrification of the municipal fleet, that is a major project, and staff is looking at this currently. We're talking about an investment before we start purchasing the buses, because we have to have the location, everything has to be developed for them. We have to have the mechanics as well. So we're working on the analysis, but meanwhile, we're continuing on with traditional vehicles. Well, I hope they come soon. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor will signify by saying aye, contrary, nay. Go ahead. Carried as presented.
11.5.1, Age-Friendly Advisory Committee. We need a new person, Romeo Cormier, who's been appointed. So we publicize this to the public. And in order to have a good balance of all the required things, this has been decided, this person has been decided to be on the committee. Thank you. To read the resolution, Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council appoint Romeo Cormier as member of the Dieppe Age-Friendly Advisory Committee for a term ending on November 23rd, 2027. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Nantang on the question. There being none, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Against, nay. Resolution is carried as presented. 11.6, Planning and Development. 11.6.1, Acceptance of the report, Urban Growth Strategy. Your Worship, I note that Councillor Godbout is leaving for elements of conflicts of interest, which she shared at the outset of the meeting, so she has left the room. So last week, during the meeting of the Policy and Strategy Committee, consultants gave us an urban growth strategy, which is a very ambitious one. Staff also completed the various elements put forward by the consultants. I'm not going to go over all of those components, but I can say that this strategy is going to lead us toward growing and leading our community, which will be well structured and well planned. This evening, we are asking that you accept the report entitled, so the staff can then use it to plan the future of our development. So this is for your consideration. Thank you. To read the resolution, Councillor Lantang. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council accept the report entitled Ville de Dieppe, Stratégie de croissance urbaine, and authorize the personnel to assess the feasibility of incorporating the recommendations into municipal regulations. Moved by Councillor Lantang, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. And on the question. All those in favor of the resolution will say aye. Resolution is carried as presented. 11.6.2. We're at 11.6.2 for the following topic is to set the date for the public hearing, zoning bylaw Z10. It's easy to change numbers. So this is to schedule a public hearing for requests for zoning change. This is the date for council to be set at January 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. and to request the advice of the Planning Advisory Committee. They hold their meeting on March 9, 2026 for public purposes. This will probably be the last request for rezoning. And we begin a critical step in the end of your mandate. We look at the whole process of request for zoning. We're now at the 6-month critical stage. And requests for zonings and changes, but the staff is going to continue to work with developers or promoters on potential projects. And so this is just additional information, but for today, a request for zoning and a date for the public hearing. 11.6.2, that's right. For the reading of this resolution, Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That council schedule a public hearing on, oh, sorry, I'm not in the right place. Once again, the council schedule a public hearing on January 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. at Dieppe City Hall to hear objections pertaining to the proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw Z10 2021 zoning map for the lands identified under PIDs 70405899 and 00925610 portion in order to allow the rezoning of said lots from R2 residential 2-unit dwelling zone to RHM residential housing mixed zone for the development of a residential project. The council requests the written views of the Planning Advisory Committee and extend the deadline pursuant to section 1110 subsection 3 of the Community Planning Act to March 9, 2026 with respect to the above mentioned project. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Genet on the question. There being none, all those in favor of the resolution will say aye. Against, nay. Resolution is carried as presented. This brings us to 11.6.3, not 0.4, but 0.3. Adoption policy Z7. You have in front of you, Your Worship and councillors, a proposal for a nonprofit housing incentive program. At the last meeting of council, I made a small mistake. We should have read it, but I still presented it in public and I briefly explained it. So I hope that you will consider taking a vote this evening in any case, but to do so transparently. I have said what we might have avoided doing last time, but you have received the information at the meeting 2 weeks ago. And what we're looking at here with regard to this incentive program, it's a policy which applies only to nonprofit housing. And so we really want to encourage this sector for future development, that if you're building a new building or a renovation, both can be taken into consideration under this program. And the policy has 2 financing components. The first one are amounts for pre-development. A lot of preparation work is done when someone wants to begin building a project. And when we talk about nonprofit housing, this funding isn't always there to support them. So for these types of housing which are affordable, we need to prepare plans, and other research needs to be done. And so it will allow us to underdo feasibility studies, geotechnical studies, and construction plans, drainage plans, everything involved in construction and preparation work. So we have subsidies that could reach up to $50,000 for those who are doing the projects, and we could have a maximum of $25,000, which could be contributed to one kind of development activity. So the program truly looks at offering nonprofit or affordable housing with nonprofit housing groups in order to encourage this kind of housing. So we think this is a great initiative. It's part of an initiative that goes with the FACL, and we hope you will take it into consideration. To read the resolution, Councillor Cormier. Sorry, Councillor Godet. Pardon me, Councillor Godet. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council adopt policy Z7 2025 entitled Nonprofit Housing Incentive Program. I so move. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Godet, seconded by Councillor Genet on the question. There being none, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Against, nay. The resolution is carried as presented. Now, on to 11.6.4, PAC recommendation, text amendments, municipal development plan, and Z9, 2017, and zoning bylaws Z10, 2021, accessory dwellings, R1 and R2 zones. So once again, Your Worship and members of council, we have a process begun more than a year ago, and we presented a request for funding from the housing fund and the investments, the HEF funding, to encourage the construction of housing and developing housing construction. So in our application, we had 9 objectives which were part of this request, and we needed to put into place. This is one of the 9 requirements or obligations that we're putting in front of you this evening. And so the Planning Advisory Committee has assessed this recommendation, and the recommendation is to go ahead with the recommendation here. So the reading of it is very clear. For staff, we added one last element, and after 2 years, so in December 2027, we will do a complete analysis of this initiative to see what the consequences are and the items that we should be looking at after we do this exercise. So we heard comments from citizens, and citizens, it reaffirms what we're doing here. And also we're going to take advantage of this opportunity to see if about Airbnb housing. We want to implement a program to support, to control this type of initiative. Also, we've heard members of council and public on this matter. This is an objective we will give ourselves in 2026 and come up with a proposal for you. So we complement all of this, but essentially it's a PAC recommendation to have up to three in residential zones R1 and R2. If the council accepts this, it means that in all parts of the residential areas of the city, there could be 3 accessory dwellings in our area. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. To read the resolution, that council accept the recommendation made by the Planning Advisory Committee on November 19th 2025 regarding application to amend the Municipal Development Plan Z9 2017 and zoning bylaw Z10 2021 in order to allow in single unit dwellings the development up to 3 accessory dwellings in addition to the main dwelling unit in R1 and R2 zones. That council proceed with the first and second readings by bylaw Z9 2017-13, Z10 2021-15. The council directs staff to conduct an analysis of the evolution of the gentle densification project in December 2027. I so move, your worship.
It's been moved and seconded
On the question.
Councillor Godet. I have a couple of questions, your worship. Just questions of clarification. It says that the owner has to be an occupant in order to obtain a construction permit, and I understand that. But if the house is sold a few years later, the new owner, has to live in the house, or how are we going to control that? Ms. Luce, can you answer that? We will commit to continuing to do our research as we're waiting for her to unmute. Normally, I don't give legal type advice in a public meeting, but I could say this. When a building is already built, it's a market building. It would be up to the province to regulate that aspect of it. Now, currently, our bylaw doesn't have that component, doesn't allow us to monitor who purchases a building and whether they rent it or not. This is a question that can continue to be studied, but currently, because the authority does belong to the province, so the motion on the table this morning does not have that aspect of monitoring included. So if I understand correctly, the first permit that will be issued for the building means that the person has to be an occupant, but after that we have no control. Well, right now we have no control, but we're going to continue to do our research. Thank you. We had noted that the RHM and R3 zones, this is already allowed in those zones currently, right? And they are going to continue to have the right to do that. Yes, their right is maintained. Okay, thank you. Thank you, that's all for me. Any other questions? Councillor Turgeon-Roy. I had already asked this question and I know I received an answer. There was the question of parking, of traffic, of safety, but we had 2 public hearings and you answered the questions well. So I sincerely hope that we're going to have the measures in place to make sure this is well regulated in the next years. I hesitated a long time before deciding whether I was going to vote in favor of this motion this evening, but following my research and consultations with everybody, I'm going to move towards this evening because we want to implement elements that'll help settle the housing crisis. And for what's important for me is to make sure that we maintain the character of our neighborhoods. I really believe in the unique character we have here in Dieppe. People have come to set up to live here because we have these really nice neighborhoods. And I remember last week when Alexander talked about the urbanization of our city. We can't go backwards. We have to keep moving forwards, but we have to plan. We have to know where we're headed and we have to plan our route. So I trust you, the staff. You are the experts in the matter. So I'm going to vote in favor of this evening. Thank you, Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you. I agree with my colleague, the Breyon from Edmundston, but she mentioned some of the concerns that had been raised, but there was also the one of Airbnbs. And as the CAO confirmed, we're going to work towards a regulation of these. So in that case, I'm going to vote in favor as well. Councillor Jeannin. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the staff for all the work they have done. All of the work that's been done in the consultations, discussions, cooperation with different organizations, in-depth analysis. Truly, I'm going to vote in favor of this. And I don't want to repeat everything that that has already been said, but not everybody needs the same type of housing. Not everybody wants to live in an apartment building. So this will create a diversity of offerings. There might be students, elderly, people who have just separated. So just want something small to start out. So that'll be helpful. And as we get older as well, all of these concerns have been taken into consideration by staff, and I think we're in good hands with the staff we have. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Lantin. I don't want to repeat everything that's been said. I agree with it as well. At the beginning, I was one of the ones who was against it because of the aesthetic aspect, because of the different zoning bylaws in different areas. So I'd like to thank staff for having added this review after 2 years. That has helped calm my fears and the fears of a number of citizens. So it proves that the city listens to its citizens, and we're going to make sure that we're headed in the right direction. Thank you for that. So all those in favor will signify by saying a contrary-minded nay. It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you to all of you, and thank you to staff for the excellent work you did in giving the information and we still have work to do on it, but at least we've managed to calm the fears. So that brings us to 12. Yes, this is Councillor stays outside. I hope it's not too cold out there. No, I think she's in the warm lobby. So we're at bylaw Z-9 to amend a bylaw relating to the City of Dieppe Municipal Development Plan. So it was just by title, the first 2 readings. Who would like to read this by title only? Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw Z-9, 2017-13, a bylaw to amend a bylaw concerning to the City of Dieppe Municipal Development Plan, and I so move it in a first reading by title only. Thank you. Who would? We need somebody to second. Thank you. Yes, who would like to read it? Second it, Councillor Thibodeau. All those in favor of the resolution will signify. Contrary, nay. Carried as presented. And who would like to read it a second time by title only? The bylaw Z-9, 2017-13, a bylaw to amend a bylaw relating to the City of Dieppe Municipal Development Plan. And this is a second reading by title only, and I so move. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Lantin, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. All those in No questions. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. And it's carried. Which brings us to 12.2.
Également l'arrêté Z10,
C'est
M.
l'arrêté
It says Z10 again. Who would like to read? Oh, it's Z10 by title only. It's reading by title only. Yes. Who would like to read it? Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Thank you, Your Worship. This is bylaw Z-10, 2021-15, a bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw, and I so move it in first reading by title only. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Rideau on the question. No questions. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as read. Thank you. Oh, we need second reading. Right, second reading. Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Thank you. Bylaw Z-10, 2021-15, a bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. And I so move it in second reading by title only. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. If there are none, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. And we can go get Councillor Godbout, ask her to come back in so she can participate in the last part of this meeting. Or she might decide to stay out there.
Reçu aucun avis de motion.
Pardon?
Le
We
prochain
have no
sujet.
notices of motion this evening. There is no notices of motion. Okay, so we're at inquiries and announcements by members of council. Let's start on my left. Councillor Godet. I have nothing. I just wanted to talk about the Santa Claus. We won that challenge. It was really nice out. Everybody had a great time, and that's all. I know I didn't recognize you with that uniform on. No, I didn't recognize him with the uniform. Thank you. Yes, so just a question of information. Some 2 years ago, we adopted a bylaw to remove the height restrictions on the grass on your lawn. Now, is there anything we know, or have there been a positive or negative impact? Has anything changed? Thank you, Councillor de Boutier. We'll check on that, and I'll come back to council with information on the results of that. Today we adopted the new emergency plan, and I know this is normal in municipalities, but could we have a presentation, just a summary presentation one day on the different roles and the responsibilities? Touch wood, of course, that we don't need them, but just so everybody understands and everybody's on the same wavelength here. Perhaps with a new council or something after May. Yes, that's a good idea. Thank you. I have nothing this evening. Thank you. Councillor Brideau. I just have 2 things I'd like to mention. Last weekend in our great city of Dieppe, there were all sorts of activities, both at the Arts, Culture and Center here by City Hall and at the Uni Center. There was the tournament of high schools that went very smoothly and was very popular. Congratulations to the winners. I think the winners went back to Quebec with the trophy, but we'll win it back next year. And another activity that was held last weekend was the FICFA festival. The French Cinema Festival. There was a great participation this year. There was full house for almost every showing. So things are moving here in Dieppe. Yeah, people participate here in Dieppe. And now, there was something else as well. Our oval, our skating oval is now ready. So until Christmas, children can go skate, and so can the adults. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you. Councillor Thibodeau, thank you. We just adopted the budget this evening, and I just wanted to thank the management team for the budget, for everything Mr. Theriault presented this evening. I know you worked very hard, and to be successful in a budget like this one, to be able to not increase the tax rates and to achieve all of these projects that we have in our line of sight, I think that really is worth a hand. Thank you. And I thank the whole team. And that's all for me, Your Worship. Thank you. Councillor Turgeon? Nothing, but you heard my Braillon come out. Thank you. Have a good week, everyone. Councillor Goodboom. Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, and a special thank you to the committee responsible for the 50th annual classic of the high schools in Dieppe. So that was held this weekend. I also participated, and like Brideau mentioned, the vedette from Mathieu Marté won the tournament. So we were very proud of them. So the tournament was held at the Uni Center as well as the Arthur Gilles Leblanc Center, but we were able to do something with the University of Moncton as well. So thank you to everybody who cooperated with us, and this wonderful cooperation that allows us to do things together. It was a great example of cooperation. And there's the public meeting of the CRPA this Thursday here in Dieppe, if you're interested. And thank you, Mr. Thibodeau, for having mentioned that we do have the best team here in Dieppe. I thank you very much for the budget and for all of the work that you do. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. The advantage and the disadvantage of coming last is that everything's already been said, but I did want to talk about the vedette, the team from Mathieu Martin. So that trophy remains here. And I wanted to congratulate the great work done on the budget. We know that it takes a long time to prepare, and personally, all of the figures, the presentations, it gives me a headache just listening, and I'm not the ones who have to prepare the figures and put them down on paper, so I can just imagine. But it's quite a vocation. But it's great work and great to see, and it's nice to see that we can continue without increasing the taxes here in Dieppe. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you won't have to tear your hair out. No, I won't. Thank you. Before you have the last word, Your Worship, I would just like to mention that the next meeting of council will be on the third Monday of the month, so December 15th. We adopted a resolution to this effect at the last meeting, but humans are such that we forget. So December 15th is the next meeting. Have a great end of the evening to all of you. It's always a pleasure to be here, and it's always like to see how hard you're working for the community. It's really incredible. Thank you to all of you. People are jealous of us all throughout the province.